Cold War multiplayer reveal. Felt like a big deal I should talk about. I don't have nearly as much to say as the people who actually played it, but I do want to go over some stuff that jumped out at me in their reveal stream and the gameplay I've watched. A lot of their stream was spent going through the maps. They showed off a lot of the larger maps for the combined arms mode, the 12v12 Dom, basically a mini ground war with all the vehicle gameplay, then also some smaller maps that were more 3-lane for 6v6. I'm down to go back to some more sane map design. Modern Warfare was a mess there, the god-awful spawns only making it worse. I do want to say it because I know in the past I've hated on 3-lane maps, and I do still agree with the sentiment I had saying that, but I think I was blaming the wrong thing. 3-lane design is not the problem. I just don't like the super confined lane feeling of always being forced into predictable head-on-head gunfights, like in Arden Forest maybe, because while that may be better for competitive, I do find that pretty boring and samey when there's hardly any map knowledge at play, no interesting lines of sight, nowhere to flank, but you can have 3-lane maps where there is still room for some creativity, where if you want to take the extra time to flank all the way around, you can do that. And obviously Modern Warfare took map freedom way too far with a stupid mess of streets you can't cross without getting shot from 7 dark windows. So I still don't like the confined lane feeling, but I didn't get that feeling as much watching the gameplay on the smaller Cold War maps, so some 3-lane designs could work out great. I'm glad to get away from the maps and spawns we have now. Hopefully they can strike a decent balance. They also covered a bunch of other game modes, all the core stuff we're used to, Control from Black Ops 4, and then a couple new things. VIP Escort, where, you guessed it, you escort a VIP, one guy in your team who only has a pistol and some gear. Not much to say about that. And then later in the stream, a much more interesting mode they only briefly brought up, Fireteam, and there were some details on the blog about it. It almost sounded like co-op Spec Ops in the stream. But no, this is 10 teams of 4 players each, fighting on a big map to complete certain objectives. Maybe like a hybrid of World War II's War Mode and a BR. The one they showed off was Dirty Bomb, where you run around detonating dirty bombs and avoiding the radiation. Well, okay. Fireteam certainly sounds like it could be a fun mode to hop in with a team. Doesn't sound very fun to solo queue like most BR type modes, because teamwork actually matters. Well, okay, interesting mode. We'll see when we learn more. To touch on a few of the details we got, the created class, I've heard it called a hybrid of pick 10 and Modern Warfare a few times, but no, there's no pick points whatsoever. You still take one of everything, with the one addition being wildcards, which does allow a bit more freedom. The few they showed off were stuff like having 8 primary attachments instead of 5, doubling up equipment, being able to pick your 3 perks from any categories, or having 2 of each perk color. Wildcards are not a huge change in my eyes, but that's fine with me. I do like seeing the gunsmith back for sure, one of the cool things about Modern Warfare. Now the Scorestreaks, the way these were described sounded goddamn awful, although I think they are balanced to be not as bad as they sounded. The good is that they are Scorestreaks, which should encourage more objective play and faster gameplay in general to get more score, as opposed to camping around to keep your kill streak alive. But then they said that streaks never reset. So it sounds like everyone has World War II requisitions by default. They say, quote, that this gives all players a chance at earning these visceral and fun tools that can turn the tide of a battle. I do not hear that and think, great, participation trophies that turn the tide of the battle. It's like they knew they had to remove specialist abilities where you get a free kill button that charges up over the game. And they do still have the field upgrades that are like that, but less powerful of course. So they turned kill streaks into specialist abilities. In fact, we know that many old specialist abilities are kill streaks. So, man, not too excited about that. I haven't mentioned yet, though, that yes, going on a kill streak without dying does give you much more score towards your streaks. There's a multiplier system, and you'll earn them much faster that way. And I assume you really need to be going on big streaks without dying to have any hope of earning a truly big streak in a game, like the Chopper Gunner. But if you're going for lower streaks, like maybe the War Machine grenade launcher thing, that seems like it'll be a lot like specialist abilities. And then there's also a cooldown after using a streak until you can earn it again to prevent spamming. So not only is everyone able to earn powerful streaks every game, if you're good, you're artificially limited on how many you can call in. Yeah, I'm never going to be a fan of what really sound like skill clamping features. It's a game. I think the fun comes from improving and being rewarded for improving, not getting handouts and dying to handouts. But according to them, quote, earning these high-end streaks now feels more satisfying than ever, without all the heartbreak over losing your progress when you were just one kill away. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, the fear of that heartbreak was part of what could make the game feel more intense, and the rush of succeeding and earning it was a big part of the satisfaction. So, more satisfying than ever? I don't know about that. Well, different topic. One big question I had, and still have, is how exactly Warzone is tying into this game. And they really only restated some stuff that we already knew in a confusing way. There are not many details. We know that Warzone will continue to evolve and interweave with Cold War's themes, weapons, and operators. And they say at launch, Cold War will have a brand new leveling journey that will later connect to Warzone. And both games will share post-launch seasonal content through the Battle Pass and store. But also, Warzone will still be using the weapons, blueprints, equipment, basically everything earned in Modern Warfare. Like they say, cosmetics. Does that even include like calling cards and emblems? Interesting. So I assume Warzone is going to really branch off here and become its own thing, balance-wise, because how are they going to balance all of Cold War's guns with Modern Warfare's in the same game? Surely all the new guns will be balanced differently in Warzone versus in Cold War multiplayer, unlike Modern Warfare where the guns are pretty darn similar across modes. So, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how Warzone both branches out to be its own thing, but also still ties into both of these games, because they did say you will be able to unlock Cold War content, like base weapons and attachments, through playing Warzone. We'll just have to see how exactly that works. I guess it is mostly explained. I'm just curious about how the balance is going to work. The create a class, the slightly different gunsmiths. Oh well. That's most of the stuff that caught my eye. As expected, a lot of the big gameplay things lots of people were looking for, they made sure to bring up, like the ninja perk for quieter footsteps, a normal minimap where you show up for firing and suppressed, there are no doors, no mounting, the ghost perk requires movement again, all that stuff, great to see. But for me, all that, and even all the talk about maps and modes, truly not what I care about. I don't care how many times they call the gameplay authentic and intuitive. It was a lot of times, by the way. None of that gets me hyped up. You know, I love playing for progression, so I'm gonna play whatever mode I feel like gets me efficient challenge progress. I know that ain't for everyone, but I have fun experiencing the game that way, so that's really all that matters to me. Playing it like an RPG. All the stuff about gameplay, maps, modes, create a class, I'll just adapt to whatever it is. It's fun to try new things. I don't really care, as long as there's an engaging progression gameplay loop. And I didn't expect to learn anything about that here in the reveal. They usually wait a long time to talk about that, although it was actually reassuring to see that they even brought it up in a tweet that progression details would be coming. I know a big thing on people's minds is prestiging versus the boring seasonal ranks thing, and I agree, but that isn't my primary concern. I think there are several ways they could handle it that I'd be fine with that would be far better than last year. I just hope we avoid capping the rank each season, making XP feel completely pointless, making me feel like I should wait until the next season to continue my camo grind, and having the seasonal challenges that feel very hollow, since because they reset every season, they can't make them take too long, so there's nothing I'm ever proud about completing. Obviously, there will still be seasonal content as far as maps and battle passes go, and if there are some seasonal challenges or things to complete in each season, that would be cool too. But I really hope that's tied in with the Battle Pass. Make that the thing, with some challenges that resets every season, bringing people back. But I really want there to be a permanent feeling of progression when it comes to rank, and a 100%er type of challenge to shoot for. Treyarch has traditionally been pretty good with that, and hopefully that can continue. We'll see when we can get more info on that. And also, speaking of not getting info on something, what I think is the absolute biggest thing that will affect how the gameplay feels, how they handle the matchmaking. That is what made Modern Warfare feel how it felt. I truly believe it wasn't the minimap, the spawns, the maps, or whatever else might have not been ideal. The matchmaking is what can completely change how a game feels. And that'll be big to find out about, because I doubt they'll be talking about it at all. Alright, that's what I'm thinking about Cold War after seeing the reveal. I still feel the same way about how, if you're unsure about getting this game, there's never been a better year to not buy it. Warzone will continue to be free, and at some point will tie into the ranks and unlocks of Cold War. If you want to get into the game through that, you can, and then decide if you want to buy the full thing at some later point, after seeing if everyone hates it or not. That's always the safer way to do things. Well, I'll probably see you whenever they want to talk more about progression. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.